And we are live in the BTB Gorilla Zone with another BTB Reacts. Um, Vice President Harris is in Club Shay Shay. Still odd to say that name, but I feel like that this is a safe space for her to jump into.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one.
You know, I don't know what she's gonna say, but I feel like she'll be able to say it.
We'll see. We'll see.
A lot of interviews she gets in, she don't get to really.
No, but I wonder how Shannon's gonna take this one.
He wore a nice suit.
Yeah.
Let's
go.
He
dressed nicer than she did, actually. Damn.
But I'm only 35.
Come on now, I'm your guest.
No, but you only 30.
I'm gonna give you a shovel in a minute.
I see. You won't let it go. Dang.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Yeah, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life.
Let's go.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Club Shay Shay. This episode is brought to you by Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the woman that's stopping by for conversation and a drink today. She's the highest ranking woman in U.S. history. She's made a career of being first. She's the first woman to serve as Attorney General, African American, Asian American descent. She's been district attorney of San Francisco. She was the nation's first Indian American senator. She's the first woman, first black Asian American to be elected vice president. She set the record for the most tie-breaking votes cast by a vice president. She's the first black woman, Asian American in U.S. history to win the presidential nomination of a major party. She's the first HBCU grad, making us proud. She's a Howard University alum. She's a member of the prestigious Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Here she is in person, Madam BP. Kamala Harris. Madam VP, how you doing?
Thank you very well, Shannon. How you doing?
It is an extreme honor, privilege, and a pleasure to have you on Club Shay Shay. CJ, who's the producer here, when we started this journey, Madam VP, 4 years ago, celebrities, athletes, entertainers, influencers.
Yeah.
VPs and presidential hopefuls were on the bingo card. You're here, so I want to thank you very much.
I thank you.
When we have guests come on, Madam VP, we like to toast. And what I read on this card, you don't deserve this, you earned this. Being the first in so many areas. And you make us proud. I just want you to know you make us proud for what you've been able to accomplish. And we're 12 days away, and we hope you have an even greater accomplishment. So here's to continued success in everything you've done and everything that you will do.
Oh, bless you, and thank you. And to you, Shannon,
Thank you
for all the success and the voice you give to so many issues. Thank you for that.
Thank you very
And
much.
cheers to you.
Cheers.
And I'm not going to actually drink this because I might fall asleep, and I need to do this
I don't want you
with
to fall
Barack
asleep.
Obama this afternoon.
We don't want you to fall asleep.
So here we are. Cheers to everybody.
So before we get into the things that you want to do once you become president of the United States, I want to go back. When you found out when President Biden called you and said that he was no longer going to seek re-election, and you got that call, do you remember where you were and what you thought when you heard him say these words to you?
I do. So I was home. It was a Sunday afternoon. And my niece, her husband, and their two young daughters were visiting and staying with us. And I promised the kids I'd have pancakes and bacon and everything.
Okay.
And then after that, I had a puzzle for the kids, and we were sitting down to do the puzzle.
Okay.
And the phone rang.
Okay.
And it was President Biden. And so that's when he told me. And it was obviously life-changing in so many ways. But, I have to tell you, Shannon, I at that moment, I knew what it would mean, but not in the detail of it, but I certainly understood the seriousness and the gravity of the moment. And actually, one of the first people I called was my pastor.
Wow. Okay.
I knew I needed a moment to just be still, and for my spirit and my mind to have clarity about the seriousness of the moment and my role. And I'll never forget that call or that moment or that day.
Your life instantaneously changed.
Like, I wish he went into more like what what is that phone call really like? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that didn't really give me like that. Like, I understand the weight of the phone call from what she said, but it doesn't really say like, you know, like, hey, like, did they say, hey, well, you know, you're gonna be running for president? Like, you know, like,
it was a very political answer.
yeah, for
Give her
sure.
that, yeah.
I know. I just was expecting, you know what I mean?
I'm not expecting much deep answers.
Well, I guess
from,
what I would have liked.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we're gonna get anything in depth at all. Politicians usually either generally answer the question or don't and go to a different topic.
Yeah.
So any politician I hear speak, I'm like,
I
might
was
not
hoping
get
in
the
this
answer to this.
space, you know, when you on Shay Shay, people tend to say things they don't normally say.
yeah,
So
she's
let's-
following up Cat Williams. She better come with it.
Let's hope for it.
In that moment.
Yes, it did.
Because now all of a sudden you weren't going to be running, you weren't going to be the VP anymore. You're going to be front and center. And
Right.
you knew what the undertaking, having been 4 years as the vice president, what that moment would mean.
I had a sense of it, you know, like so many of us, you know, when you this is your life, right? So there are those moments where your instinct kicks in sometimes before your conscious mind and thoughts do.
Right.
And my instinct kicked in immediately that I need to focus and I need to do certain things immediately, which included making, I think we estimated I made over 100 calls that day. My team, and I have an incredible team, all came in, and nobody expected, right? It was a Sunday afternoon.
Correct.
In fact, we actually joked who had taken a shower that day. Because, people came in their workout clothes.
Right.
Different people in, a bandana around their head, just, and came in, and we then, for hours and hours, well into the night.
Did you tell them, did you tell them why you had summoned them to come to your place? Did you give them that news, or were you waiting for them to get there to share that news with them?
Well, so the news started to, as you
leak
can
out.
imagine, pretty much immediately. And, but of the many blessings that I have and have had, one of them is an incredible team of people around me. You know what that's like,
Yes.
where they're just there and they will rise to a moment. And no matter how high that moment is, or meaning how serious it is. And what I love, and it's certainly my own work ethic, that there is no job too small or too big if there's something that needs to get done.
So although you have a huge role now, what's a typical day like for you now once you've been thrust into this? What time are you normally getting to bed? What time are you getting up? And what's some of the activities that you do in a given day?
I'd probably estimate 14-hour, 15-hour days.
Okay.
When I wake up, no matter how little sleep or how much sleep I've had, I work out every morning.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
it's like mind, body, and spirit, right? And then, and that's the only time of my day I really own. And then it is, these days, it's not unusual for me to be in 3 or even 4 cities in one day. Rallies with thousands of people, 10,000 people showing up. Making calls to folks. Just now I landed in Atlanta, the mayor of Atlanta, who greets me every single time. So I'll talk with elected leaders who are supportive about, so for example, here in Atlanta, what do we need to do to make sure that we're giving folks the resources to knock on doors and remind folks of the power of their voice? And 12 days in, it really is a lot about trying to focus on getting folks to know their power, to not let anybody suppress or silence their voice, and to vote.
Right. So breakfast, what does Madam VP eat for breakfast, or do you have time to, or is it on the go?
No, when I was younger, I didn't think I needed breakfast. I wasn't a breakfast eater.
Okay.
Now I have breakfast every morning. It's usually a spinach omelet. It's not very exciting.
Right.
But it's protein with a little vegetable. And, I like chicken, apple sausage, and some toast, and then I'm gone.
Madam VP, you're a couple of years older than myself, so we kind of
Thank
grew up
you.
in the 80s. But I'm only 35.
Come on now, I'm your guest.
No, but you only 30. But we grew up.
But just keep moving, because I'm going to give you a shovel in a minute.
I see. You won't let it go. Dang. We could have just moved on past that real quick, but you drew attention to it. But we grew up in the 70s when music
Yes.
went in fire. Ohio players.
Oh, yes, fire. Come on.
Oh, you were like fire.
Come on.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yes.
dun, 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 dun.
Yes. What do you listen to now?
Oh, I wish I were listening to more music, to be honest with you, because I love it. Just, but
You don't
when
have downtime? Like when you have downtime?
I don't have any downtime, really. I know my little violin I'm playing right now with you. I really don't. But when I love jazz.
Mm-hmm.
If it's from Thelonious Monk to Miles Davis. I love Aretha. I was just with Stevie.
Right.
Stevie's, can I tell you?
Yes, you can.
Bucket list. Stevie Wonder on my birthday sang me happy birthday.
I ain't gonna lie, that's
Happy
birthday to me.
Oh my.
Can you imagine?
No.
I was literally, it was surreal. Can you, a bucket list moment
Right.
when Stevie Wonder himself sings you happy birthday?
As an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
could you imagine
Never.
your life would have been like this?
Never.
This many years
Never.
later?
And let me tell you, my mother she had every Stevie and every Aretha Franklin record, every album, like literally every one of them. So songs in the Key of Life, like all those Stevie songs that were about everything from the movement to optimism. I would have never, at 18, thought that he'd be singing me happy birthday. Ever. Never.
That's the least. But obviously everybody knows who Stevie is. He was a child prodigy, 13 years old, and he was doing great things. But to see, Madam VP, what you've been able to do, you've had so many firsts. The first woman attorney general, African American, Asian American descent. You was the DA of San Francisco. You were the first Indian American U.S. senator.
And second black woman ever in the history of the United States Senate elected. Second in the history of the United States Senate.
Have you had an opportunity to sit back and reflect and it's like, wow, but work is not yet done?
That's more where I am. The work is not done. The work is not yet done. There's so much to do. To your point, being in the Senate, there is a weight of responsibility that I know we all feel, right? When we have been blessed with an experience that allows us to be a role model.
Great.
And to hopefully inspire people and to remind them of what's important or point out the things that need to be addressed. So, for example, as only the second black woman elected to the United States Senate, I took on a real role of leadership around black maternal mortality, which affects black women and affects their spouses, their husbands, their families, their children. And I feel a sense of responsibility and a very strong duty to make sure that I use my voice and in a way that is about lifting up people who have not always been in the room.
Hello, America. Mr. States and Shape stepped out for some Black Ops 6, but I'm here as his replacer. Let's start with Texas, shall we? Well, I think this is, ooh. Ha! Things are moving here. Oh, I can go, there. Yep. Yeah, that's all for today, folks. Check in tomorrow.
If you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
If I could speak to my 18-year-old self, I would probably tell her, continue to keep your friends. My best friend from kindergarten is still one of my best friends.
What?
Yes.
Y'all made it to the first grade as best friends?
Yes. In fact, she's been out knocking on doors in North Carolina just this last week for me. Wow. I would say, hold on to that, which is your friends are so important. Your family is so important. I would probably encourage myself at 18 to remember that you have a lot of people who are supporting you, even if they don't know you. That's what I mentor a lot of people, Shannon. So This is what I'm really reflecting on, which is what I tell the young people I mentor, including to know that even when you are in that room and you're the only one who looks like you or who has had your life experience, to know you are not alone in that room and that you must therefore walk in that room, chin up, shoulders back, knowing we're all there applauding you. When I mentor young women and men, I remind them that you are often going to be told, well, it's not your time, not your turn, you're too young, nobody like you has done this before. And I tell them, you know, don't you ever listen to that. I like to say, I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear no. You ask me what I eat for breakfast? I eat no for breakfast. I don't hear it.
Right.
And that's part of what are my life lessons that I try to share with young people, to remind them that you cannot ever be burdened by other people's limited ability to understand who you are. Like, don't let their limited ability burden you about your own ability, you know?
Madam VP, you were raised by a single mom. What did that experience tell you about your mom, and what did it tell you about you?
Well, it told me that one of the things that is precious is to build
I feel like they gave him
community and family. Like my mother, she understood that
I feel like she firing off
there is a
fast.
community that she wanted her children to be raised in. And she was very intentional and purposeful about that. And so I always say to people, even when I took the stage as the nominee for the Democratic nomination, that, you know, there is the family that you have by birth, and there is also the family you have by love. And they're equally family,
Yes.
right? And I learned that from my mother. So my mother, I had all these aunties and uncles. My Uncle Sherman, who was one of the first black men to graduate from Berkeley School of Law, who, when we were young girls, sat us down and taught us how to play chess. Because Uncle Sherman said, you need to understand how the chessboard works, because that's the way the world works. There are going to be different players with different moves. And you need to see the whole board. My mother raised us around, like my Auntie Chris, who went to Howard in the 50s and pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha. And she was one of my incredible role models growing up. And that was one of the big reasons I wanted to go to Howard University and pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha. Those are some of the lessons that I've learned from my mother. And I try to also share with people, right? Which is the beauty of community. And it's the way I am, right? Which is, you know, the children in my life, whether they be my own or, you know, my godchildren or whomever, right? That it's a collective responsibility that we have.
Did you know you were different? I mean, were there a lot of people in the community that looked like you and like your mom, or did your mom tell you you were different?
Well, my mother taught us to, and everyone in my growing up, you know, they would tell all of us kids that we were special.
Okay.
I don't think we were particularly special.
Right.
But they told us we were, and we believed them.
Yes.
We believed them. I think that's such an important part of what we can all do for the children and the children in our lives. And, you know, but my mother raised 2 black girls to be proud black women. Back to music, one of the soundtracks from my childhood was, you know, You Are Young, Gifted, and Black. You know? And that's what it was.
I'll get the phone number later. And we're back, America. The moderators, they got a hankering for Call of Duty. They're off playing Black Ops 6.
Scrap this. Came up on a bag.
What is democracy without feedback?
Smart doesn't think it was smart. I would
And
do it.
without some freebies. Here comes a free t-shirt. Woo!
These aren't even his
3-pointer.
style questions, if you ask me.
You lost your mom to
his
Like,
cancer.
he doesn't speak a lot during his interviews, but his questions they're not like this.
No, and it's like, granted, I get the whole paint the picture of who you are thing and all that stuff, but
That's all we're seeing.
yeah, for me, there's still some time, but it's like,
Couple days.
I mean, in the interview, so I'm waiting to see more like your VP duties now and stuff. I was expecting to hear that in the last question when he was like, "Well, what is your day to day like now with the
I
election?"
was surprised we didn't hear about any like I thought she was gonna give two sides of it. How it was before it was election time, and then nowadays.
Yeah, but I honestly, like I said, I thought she was gonna say nothing had anything to do with Like, you're currently in a
Just sound
office
busy.
right now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, you're currently in an office, so it's not like it should be just
Yeah, I didn't expect to hear phone
election
calls
stuff.
in different states.
Yeah.
And then about the mayor of Atlanta. I didn't expect to
Yeah, I
hear.
wasn't. That wasn't
Greets
the
me
best
every
one.
time. That's
But,
amazing.
The personal stories and stuff. I mean, I like some parts of that for sure. Some of that is relatable and stuff, and I guess that's the goal of this here. So let's keep on
Mm-hmm.
seeing what we got to get into.
Yeah.
You were very close to your mom because you was a single parent, and that was pretty much what you had, although you had a community
Yeah.
to help raise you.
Yes.
How did you cope with that loss?
Grief is difficult. It's difficult. You know, there are two sides to the coin about when you have relationships in your life that touch you deeply, and then to lose that person, it leaves a big void, right? That's the two sides. And I think that part of what I was just talking about this, but the big part about grief is, especially if you lose somebody to a sickness, to an illness, I think it's really important that you try to remember them as they lived and not as they died.
Right.
Because I think that's how they'd want us to remember them, but also to remember their suffering, which hopefully was a fraction of their time on this earth, is to compound the grief in a way that I think it adds to the pain, and what they'd want is that their active memory, that our active memory of them is about when they were vibrant and alive. So
Let's get into things that will change what will happen if you were to become president, say in the next 12 to 13 days. Polls suggest that voters trust President Trump, former President Trump, more on the economy. What can you tell the voters, our viewing audience, our listening audience, that if you were to become president,
Now, this is a
wow,
Shannon question.
Madam VP Kamala Harris will be much better on the economy than what President Trump was?
Well, so I'm really glad you brought that up, Shannon. So first of all, let's clear up certain myths.
Okay.
You know those checks that went out?
Yes. Those stimmies?
Right. Right.
Stimulus check.
Yeah, I know. Well, right. Yes. Yes.
We got to be for stimulus, but they call them stimmies. Okay.
The reason those came about is because there was a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and Congress. People like Maxine Waters, people like Hakeem Jeffries, right?
Yes.
Who did the work of pushing to say, people need help right now and we need to send out checks. There was a whole lot of opposition to it, including from Donald Trump's White House.
Yes. Even him. I think he was resistant to it at first.
Yes. That's why those checks, remember, Congress holds the purse.
Yes.
So really, Congress wrote those checks, but then Donald Trump, unlike any president before or after, decided he put his name on those checks.
So therefore, people thought
Donald Trump, they gave me that check. And so let's clear that up first and foremost,
Okay.
but let's also deal with where he was in terms of his policies on the economy. He gave the biggest tax cuts for billionaires and the biggest corporations, which caused an incredible deficit. He tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which we also call Obamacare, which benefited so many people, including and in particular black people in America who otherwise were denied by the insurance companies health coverage because of pre-existing conditions.
yes. That's most important. Let the people.
I ain't gonna lie, that Obamacare came in clutch, yo. Hey, look, look, I ain't heard necessarily what she fitting to do different, but I think she definitely like trying to make sure that the checks and balances in place, like that a lot of things that were happening and that people associate with Trump, I feel like she's saying necessarily aren't due to Donald Trump. I feel like that's what we're getting at here, but
Well, no.
Right?
With an Affordable Care Act, if you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies can no longer deny you coverage.
That's exactly right. And if you think about what that means in the context of also knowing the big health disparities we have in the black community, and how more likely, therefore, black folks might be to have pre-existing conditions,
Blood pressure, diabetes,
all of that,
cancers.
all of that,
Yes.
asthma for our children,
Yes. Sickle cell trait.
it's all of
all
that.
right, let's get back to
So
the
by getting rid of the pre-existing condition ban, what that did, but he wanted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
What we have done, and part of my policies going forward include what we need to do to not only retain the cap that we got, on insulin at $35 a month for seniors. By the way, black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes.
Correct.
He wants to get rid of it with that Project 2025. Everybody needs to check that out. What he would do to get rid of Social Security, or at least raise the age to 70, so you'd have to work to 70 to be able to qualify. Get rid of Medicare, get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And that's just on health policy, not to mention bringing back not only tax cuts for the richest people, but what he would do that is about eliminating or reducing the ability of corporations to be required to pay overtime. Overtime pay.
So you could work, and the corporations wouldn't have to pay you for it.
For overtime.
Who work for free?
That's right.
So that
And
question got
overtime
avoided.
means you.
That question did get spun.
But she spoke more about shit than she really has yet in the interview.
Yeah, I didn't know some of the things that she said, and we are reacting to this. I can't put my stamp on it, but damn if it does. That was some information.
Yeah, it definitely got information. As far as the question goes, though, we're as blind as we were before we walked in.
Yeah, I think she did say one thing,
She
which is
spun it,
that her
finessed it.
plan is
To do different is what she said her plan
she
was.
said her plan going forward was the maintain or add to the budget or whatever for to keep the cap for insulin at $35.
Yeah, so we heard
I-
one thing that
Yeah,
might
that
be a
was
plan.
the one thing I did hear.
You are actually working a longer day, which means you are more tired,
Right.
which means it requires more exertion. That's why we have overtime pay, so you don't take advantage of workers. In addition to all of that, we're looking at Donald Trump, basically somebody who has never been understanding of the issues that affect the community about disparities. And I'm going to talk, for example, about how when he was a landlord, he denied rent to black families. You look at what he did in terms of taking out a full-page ad in the New York Times against the Central Park Five, which were a bunch of, they're not young adults, they were teenagers, black and brown teenagers. Took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for their execution for crimes they did not commit. They were innocent. Donald Trump, who said of the first black president of the United States, the birtherism, to have people question whether he was born in the United States, to try and diminish. And then most recently, you look in this very election, legal black immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, saying they're eating their pets. So part of what we have to.
So whatever came about with that, do we know any more about this?
Well, with politics, it's hard to believe anything you see. I saw a few people that were posting photos. Don't know where they were from, but they were all saying they were from that Springfield area. And then I do know, we'll have to check into this. Somebody that's a part of their local government there came out and was kind of pushed out of a speech one time because he claimed that he had heard about it. But once again, I don't know if these people are staged, if it's somewhere different, if it's hard to really, I don't think we'll ever know what happened there.
Man,
Either
this
way,
whole thing is getting confusing.
Yeah, either way, it's, somebody's to keep your pets inside.
To help people understand is, don't think you're in Donald Trump's club. You're not.
Right.
He's not going to be thinking about you. You think he's having you over for dinner? You think that when he's with his buddies, his billionaire buddies, he's thinking about what we need to do to deal with addressing, for example, my work around what I'm doing to address disparities in black men's health, around colon cancer, around what we need to do around screenings, what we need to do around prostate cancer. Black men are twice as likely to have, and screenings, what we need to do to address.
I'm a survivor of prostate cancer.
Right, you know what I'm talking about.
I didn't know that.
Go James and the Lakers are back putting on a show, and you know I got to get the best deal on tickets. That's why I need to tell you about my sponsor, SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more sports. I'm excited to go see the Lakers dominate the Sixers at the Crib. They put all their tickets across the web in one place to make sure you're getting a good deal. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And you know I came through for you guys. Use my code Shay Shay for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code Shay Shay. Would you want to touch on some specific things you would like to do to keep it, because the economy seems to be heading in the right direction, but the inflation, gas prices are extremely high, groceries are extremely high, this rent I mean, it used to be when I was renting, they moved the rent up $40 a year. Now they moved it up $400.
So let's talk about that. I'm glad you raised that. So, for example, groceries, yes, the prices are still too high. You know it, I know it.
Yeah.
Part of my plan is to deal with price gouging. I did it when I was Attorney General. I'm going to do it as president, which is these companies that will jack up the prices of groceries to take advantage of people in need, and in particular during a crisis, like what you see around the pandemic or Hurricane Helene.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Milton, right? So there's that. In terms of housing, first of all, we know that black families are 40% less likely to own their home. And we can go back to redlining. We can go back to policies that were by law or practice meant to not give black folks equal opportunity to home ownership, especially in certain neighborhoods. We can go back to what happened around the GI Bill, and when all the great generation, we call them, came back, and there was federal policy to say, you all fought for our country, we're going to give you a boost around helping you buy homes. But those black servicemen, and it was mostly men, those black servicemen did not. So you had then a time when there was a boost. For it ended up being not for black service members. So part of my policy is to, one, create a fund so that we will give a $25,000 down payment to first-time homeowners to just help people get in the door. We will deal with the rent issue, because part of what we're seeing in Atlanta, in places across our country, is these corporations are buying up all these properties. Which means then that they don't have to deal with competition between the properties, and they're jacking up rent costs. So it's about also going after that corporate gouging around what they're doing to buy up and then jack up the prices of rent. We also need to help people with small business ownership. I did, even before I was running for president, a tour, I called it the Opportunity Economy Tour, focused on black men and black entrepreneurs. What we know is, unlike Donald Trump, about $400 million handed to him practically on a silver platter. And by the way, Shannon filed for bankruptcy 6 times. Everybody wants to say he's a great businessman. Take a look at his record. I know that so many of our entrepreneurs who have great ideas don't have access to capital, but they have serious work ethic, great ideas, and a plan to do the work. So part of my plan is to increase access to capital, including giving $20,000 forgivable loans for startup capital for people to buy the equipment, and then to change the tax deduction. So whereas it is now $5,000, to make it $50,000 to start a new business, because nobody can start a new business on $5,000. And the direct benefit, when we're looking at black entrepreneurs, is profound. And all it is about saying this: Americans in general, regardless of their race or gender, we have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams, but not everyone has access to the opportunity that lets them actually accomplish that. I want to increase access to opportunity.
Listen, unfortunately, I've gone viral a few times, but I've never gone viral for GLP-1s for weight loss. So you probably heard about the once weekly shot that can help you lose an average of 20% of your weight in a year when combined with diet and exercise. But you also may have heard that out-of-pocket costs can be huge in figuring out insurance coverage.
I assume that, honestly, a lot of white people would understand that, because
I'm just saying she's strictly only talking about what she's almost strictly.
She's definitely referring a lot of stuff to black
so it's
people.
like, for me, it's like, I don't fully understand everything in that. Like,
I mean, if you're not black, I don't know if you can fully understand what it feels like to be black.
Certainly race baiting this interview a little bit.
Interview is definitely directed towards the community for sure. But that part, I definitely feel like that was definitely well worded and well spoken.
Rich is wild. Now Roe is making it easier to see if you're covered for GLP-1s to help you get the best price out there. Want to hear my favorite part? They'll check for free. Yep, it won't cost you a dime to find out if your insurance will cover GLP-1s. 100,000 members and counting have trusted Roe to check their coverage and get the meds at the best price possible, depending on their insurance plan. Just submit your insurance card, and Roe will create a personal insurance coverage report so you can understand your options. Go to roe.co/Shannon for your free insurance coverage report. That's ro.co/Shannon. Start losing weight sooner with GLP-1s through Roe. Madam VP, if you were to become president, what measures would you put in place to make sure Social Security benefits continue because there are reports that it could possibly be depleted by 2033. And there are estimated that 11,000 people turn at least 65 years of age every single day.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to make sure, because people, disability, retirement, survivors with beneficiaries, what are you going to do to make sure that continues?
So, Shannon, to your point, there was an independent economic review of Donald Trump's plan, which shows that Social Security in the next 6 years would be insolvent under his plan, meaning that it would not be able to pay out what hardworking people who deserve dignity in their retirement deserve. And as you and I both know, there are a lot of our seniors who their only source of income is that Social Security check. Right? It's the only way they're going to pay the rent or have food on the table. So my plan is about doing what we need to do to put the resources back into Social Security, but also expanding it. Because here's part of the problem with Social Security is that for our aging seniors, if they are a couple, for example, and one of the spouses passes, that cuts their Social Security benefits almost in half. So part of my plan is to reconfigure it so that that surviving spouse does not then have a crisis where they've already lost their loved one. But we also just have to understand on a macro level, we've got to require that billionaires and corporations pay their fair share, right? They can afford to. And that's part of what is the difference between me and Donald Trump. My plan is about tax cuts for small businesses, for working people, for middle-class people. 100 million Americans will benefit around tax cuts. My plan is that no taxes will be raised for anybody making less than $400,000 a year. My plan is that we give young parents a $6,000 child tax credit to help them pay for child care, for a crib or a car seat, because you and I both know the vast majority of our young parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. And back to the way I was raised, I know that the children of the community are the children of the community. That you and I will benefit from that young family having the resources they need. So it's about all of us benefiting, but it's a state of mind and it's a perspective. Mine is about...
I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to that type of stuff, I'm like borderline, because I feel like, for one, you can't reward not necessarily like bad behavior, but I feel like that's why they make condoms, and that's why they have birth control and stuff. And I feel like people need to be more responsible. It's not my tax dollars' fault or my business's tax dollars' fault that you had a child, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there should be more of a balance there, like, because there's a lot of people having children that shouldn't be having children due to their financial situations.
Yeah,
and a lot of people have children because they know that there are platforms and programs in place that will assist them and provide, support, whereas though in the real essence of, you shouldn't be having a child yet. You know what I mean? I do feel like there are, of course, situations where, people, shit happens.
Sure.
And when shit happens, I feel like you should fall into a few different categories before you just getting this money. But I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just be feeling a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I work hard for mine.
Thinking about the challenges people face and getting them help, Donald Trump is full-time focused on himself. You watch his rallies. He will spend full-time talking about, I was going to say Freddy Krueger, Hannibal Lecter. Might as well be Freddy Krueger. Hannibal Lecter. He'll spend full-time talking about his grievances, about what everyone has done to him. He'll talk about himself, but he does not talk about the American people. He does not talk about what he's going to do for middle class. He does not talk about what he's going to do for families, for working people. And we're 12 days out. This is probably one of the most serious elections that we have faced in our lifetime. My perspective, and I will be the kind of president who spends full time focused on the needs of the people. That has been my career. I have spent my whole career as a public servant trying to uplift the condition of other people, knowing what is possible and doing it with a sense of optimism. On January 20th, a new president is going into the White House. Period. a new president is going into the White House, do you want to look at the Oval Office and see a Donald Trump who's going to be sitting there filling out his enemies list, spending full time figuring out retribution and revenge, or looking at the Oval Office and knowing you have a president in there who's creating a to-do list that's about what to do to help the American people?
So raising minimum age of Social Security, that's not on the table for you.
No. Look, people work hard all their lives, and they deserve to be able to retire with dignity. I'll tell you how I come at this. I come at it from a number of perspectives, including thinking about how I was raised in terms of how you take care of the elders, right? I think about it in terms of taking care of my mother when she was sick and dying from cancer. So one of my policies, for example, is to help Medicare pay for home health care for seniors. Why? Because, look, I did it, and it means, trying to cook for an elder, to make something they feel like eating, right? To help them put on a sweater. And we have so many people who are in the sandwich generation. They're raising their young kids and taking care of their parents. And either they have to deplete their savings to qualify for Medicaid, right, to be able to help pay for home health care, or they have to quit their job to do the work of taking care of their kids and their parent. And I just believe that's not right. That we should have policies that give people dignity, especially our seniors. So my plan is Medicare pays for home health care. And no, I would not raise the age of eligibility for Social Security, because the same thing, we shouldn't force people to work until they're 70 in order to retire and have a moment to just enjoy their life and not worry about how they're going to pay their rent.
Is Medicare for all a priority for you?
What is a priority for me is making sure that access to health care is a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. That's why I am in favor of and have pushed and been a leader on capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month. And why I intend to allow Medicare to actually negotiate against the big pharmaceutical companies to bring down the cost of prescription medication for everybody. That's why I have fought for what we need to do around making sure Medicare covers senior care. Access to health care should not be a question of how much money you have in your back pocket. That's just not right. And I feel strongly about that.
Blacks for Trump.
What was that?
They feel that Trump is better for the black community. Can you explain Donald Trump's history with blacks? Where did this come that all of a sudden, I mean, it's been like this? Because a lot of people used to say...
Wait, before he goes on, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Historically, you see hip-hop being very synonymous with the black community. Duh, right? And you've seen Donald Trump and everything hip-hop for a long time until he became president, damn near. You know what I mean?
Him very
even
active
then,
now.
like,
He's getting love to the community right now.
yeah, so I
don't know what switched though. Shannon's right. I don't know what switched, but
yeah, no, that's why I'm just giving a little background, because, it used to hear Trump lines, like you could go back through all the great 90s in hip-hop and you're going to hear Trump's name in some songs, and it's not going to be negative.
Yeah, I'm Donald Trump of the ghetto, because he was, I mean, for a lot of blacks, not all, but for some blacks, he was, Madam VP, whether we want to admit it or not, he's revered by some blacks.
But here's the thing. The question for everybody, should he be president of the United States?
Okay.
Right? That's the question. Should he have the ability to sit behind the seal of the President of the United States when he says he wants to terminate the Constitution of the United States? You know what that would mean? In the Constitution of the United States is your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure, your Fifth Amendment right, your Sixth Amendment right to an attorney.
Well, a lot of rights going to be gone. The First Amendment.
But the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. Look, I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I don't believe we should be taking anybody's guns away. He wants to terminate the Constitution of the United States. He is the same one, like I said earlier, who denied rent to black families, who took out that full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of those children, who birtherism accusations against the first black president. Not to mention please ask folks to Google Project 2025.
Yeah.
He would get rid of the $35 a month cap on insulin. We know how many of our seniors had it. I'll give you another example of why Donald Trump has not earned the support of folks to be president of the United States again. When he was president the last time, during the height of COVID, 1 in 3 black Americans knew somebody who died from COVID. You remember those days?
I do.
And people couldn't get their hands on a COVID test? At that very same time, Donald Trump as president secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia for his personal use. While Americans were dying every day, he has not earned the right to be president of the United States. It's one thing if he has a television show that's very popular. He can put his name on a building. Even though we all know he was not a terribly good businessman, which is why he filed for bankruptcy 6 times. But that is one thing. To be president of the United States means to try and find common ground, to build consensus, to lift up the American people instead of trying to beat people down all the time. It means solving problems, which means you have to be able to get out of your own head and scan, to be concerned about the well-being of other people and then do something about it. Does anyone think Donald Trump thinks that way?
Yeah, well, empathy requires you to divorce your own ego to see yourself as someone else.
That's exactly right. And we know that's not his character. So it's about, is this the right person for that job?
If you go to this actual video and you look at these comments, dude.
Comments is crazy.
People are even saying, I think more people showed up for the comment section. Like, they're all thanking Shannon and shit for not turning comments off, but some of these fuckers are funny.
I'm surprised they had
It's a roast show through this fucking thing.
Yeah, I can't show that right now.
Right?
He said immigrants are taking black jobs. I don't know what those black jobs that they're taking. Can you elaborate on that? What the immigrants are taking? What black jobs are they?
It's just another example of him trying to divide.
Hold on. That sounded like crazy as hell. What the hell did I just miss?
Those black jobs that they're taking. Can you elaborate on?
Right?
He said immigrants are taking black jobs. I don't know what those black jobs that they're taking. Can you elaborate on that? What the immigrants are taking? What black jobs are they?
It's just another example of him trying to divide and him trying to scare people. It's just another example of him doing that, of him trying to say it's either you or them. Right? And the other thing is that it's incredibly demeaning because, and he still has not been forced to define, Donald Trump, what do you define as a black job? Because let me tell you what I define as a black job. Vice President of the United States.
That's a good one.
Right?
It is. I don't know about the pay, but it's a good job to have.
Well, you know, not everybody is Shannon Sharp.
No, but you know what I wanted to ask? You've been in basically your adult life. You've been a public servant.
Yes, I have.
You've been AG.
My whole adult life.
You've been a DA.
Just the way that she said that, he was like, you know, about the pay and shit. And she was like, well, not everybody's Shannon Sharp. Yo, that money, serious.
You've been a senator. You've been VP. Is that what you envisioned? Is that what you always wanted to be, was a public servant?
I've always wanted to serve. You know, I was raised, I mean, back to whether you are, however you are raised, in the community in which you are raised, including the church in which you are raised, I have always believed that it is an important pursuit to figure out how you can serve. And we can do it in different ways, right? I chose public service. You chose a different route, but it's about service. And I have always, I mean, I've only had one client my entire life, the people. And the reason I keep doing it is because I know the difference that I and we can make when we believe in what is possible and then work hard at it. And my pledge in this campaign to everyone regardless of who you are, where you live, what you look like. I will be a president for all Americans. And I will work to bring our country back together because, frankly, I think people are exhausted with the anger, with the hate, with the division, the attempt to have Americans pointing their fingers at each other. I think people are exhausted. It's not healthy for the productivity of our country. Like, do we want to strive? Do we want to thrive? Or do we want to spend full time with vengeance, demeaning other people? And living a life of service is about, I think, the importance of lifting people up, not tearing them down.
My team here at Shay Shay Media is always growing and making moves. Sometimes it's a challenge to find qualified candidates, especially when I need them right away. Thankfully, they're the place you can go for help. ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter does the dress. ZipRecruiter.com/Shay Shay. Again, that's Reds. Some blacks say the problem that they have to you is that you're making political promises and that you're just pandering. The problem that I have with that, it just seems like only black people pander. Like when other candidates go on shows and they say they're going to do this, they're not pandering. They're telling you, laying out their elaborate plan on what they're going to do. But it seems to you, when you promise that if I'm president, this is what I'm going to do in the first 90 days. This is what I'm going to do. My administration is going to do while I'm in office. You're pandering. How do you get through to those that says, look, this is what I'm going to do. If I'm elected president, these are the policies, and they will lead to meaningful and impactful change.
Well, part of it is just to be candid. I think that there's sadly a misinformation out there about who I am and what I've done, because if people are informed about fact, they will know that almost everything that I'm talking about doing as president is built on a foundation of work that I've been doing for years. If it is about economic empowerment of the black community and all communities, I've been working on that. As vice president, I am responsible for billions of dollars from big banks and big corporations, including technology companies, getting into community banks to increase access to capital for minority-owned and other small businesses. If you look at my work over a period of years, my focus again on something like maternal mortality is long-standing, which directly impacts black men and black women,
Right.
and the black family. If you look at the work that I am doing that is about small businesses, you know, the person who helped my mother raise us, who was a second mother to us, was a small business owner. I have always focused for such a long time on what we need to do, knowing that our small businesses are part of the culture of our communities, right? Including the economic fabric and strength of the community. So what I'm talking about doing right now is based on long-standing work. It's not new. But as President of the United States, part of why it is important is it is a new approach to that job. It is about a new way that is based on a new generation of leadership, that is based on new ideas, and frankly, a different experience that brings my commitment to the work I am talking about into being.
Can you give us a breakdown of how you will allow blacks and other minorities to access capital? Because you speak a lot about capital, and in order for people to become successful and have some wealth, is that they need to have access to that to get started.
So that's in fact why I did, starting earlier this year, my economic opportunity tour, way before I was running for president. Because I realized that so many of our entrepreneurs don't actually have we need to do better in getting information to people about what's available to them. So for example, through the Small Business Administration, there are funds available to help people create a business plan. There is resources available to help people just know how that you need to run a payroll, how you need to pay business taxes. Part of my plan, by the way, is to simplify taxes for small businesses. I like to say it's basically, I'm going to date myself, like, you remember the 1040? Did you ever have to do a 1040? Probably never. Okay, I did. But, you know, simplifying tax returns for people, including our small businesses. But the work that I have done and will continue to do is about...
Hey, don't talk about no money to me and then not talk about no money to me. Now that's what we not going to do over
Dance
here.
around this one.
And that's a question that I can't understand. Half of the things that are said, I honestly don't know enough information about it other than what I've seen on the internet. So I don't take that, you know what I mean? It is just, it's like he say, she said. But this money, I know this money, and you're not talking about this money right now. Like, yes, do you need business plans and certain things like that to get loans and stuff? Yes, but you have not correlated those together in this conversation and made it say it's going to be easier, you're going to need a lower credit score, or you're going to be able to use other things for collateral, or you know, banks are going to not be able to. That's what I need to know.
Knowing that we don't lack for hard work, we don't lack for good ideas, but we do lack for information about the help that is available. So that's part of how it is going to be about increasing access to capital. Part of it is about putting more money. So I called up and got in touch with and worked with some of the big CEOs of the biggest corporations in America and said, and the big banks, that you all don't necessarily, you're not there in the community where you can get a $100,000 loan to a small business. You guys deal at a different level. But those $100,000 loans for a startup will go a long way. Let's get those billions of dollars that you've got, put them into community banks who are in the community, who know what the community needs, what they want, what the consumers there want, and then support those small businesses. So that's my approach to access to capital, including making sure that people have, again, simplifying taxes for small businesses. You know why, Shannon? Small businesses can't afford to hire a bunch of accountants.
Yeah, they can't help.
And a bunch of lawyers. But that shouldn't be the reason they fail, because they didn't fill out the form properly. Right?
Yes.
So my approach is really understanding the culture, understanding the needs, and then trying to fix problems. I love fixing problems with common sense solutions. And again, look, Donald Trump is never going to relate necessarily to the kind of folks that I'm talking about, who on the ground just need to be seen and heard, and then let's fix the problems. Let's address the challenges to let them not just get by, but get ahead. And
Bro, I'm trying to tell you, I wish I was not a felon. I would be killing that presidential shit right now. Like, dead ass. I'd have been, he'd have been like, well, what are you going to do? I'd be like, man, look, you know, for the businesses, well, this is what I'm going to do. You know, some of these businesses don't have outlets, so we're going to look into the communities of where these businesses are and see what the infrastructure is looking like and see if there's anything that the government can do to help boost the infrastructure and provide the support, whereas though these businesses would be able to thrive without needing so much financial assistance and stuff.
Better than anything.
Boom! I'm a beast.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you, I could do this all day.
I want to put a fine point on this.
That's how you spend it.
Maybe it's a new perspective. I think it is. I believe that we have had great success in bringing black unemployment down to historic lows.
Yes.
But for me, that's a floor. For me, that's a floor. Because what I know is that it should be baseline that everybody's working. That's not enough. People want to build wealth.
Yes.
And intergenerational wealth.
Correct.
And I want to help people do that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I know what if folks want to be able to take a nice vacation from time to time, have nice Christmas gifts for their kids under the tree. And it can't just be about, well, you got a job, applaud me for what I've done for you.
Right.
And that's the spirit with which I do my work.
I saw President Trump on a TV show, and he talked about defunding the Department of Education.
Yes.
Basically, we know that's going to affect communities like us that don't have the resources, and then because he says he doesn't, if they talk about slavery, which is a part of our history, it's a
That they're trying to cover up.
Yes.
That they're trying to cover up.
to talk about racism. And he said, well, what we would do if they talked about it, they wouldn't get funding. And we know what communities are going to be most impacted by non-funding.
And understand that they want to get rid of the Department of Education and get rid of Head Start. You know whose kids are in Head Start? They want to, it is, and to your point, and I'm so glad you pointed this out, you know, these are the same people who basically suggested that enslaved people benefited from slavery. The same people who are trying to ban and are banning books. And again, if we don't teach America's full history, we will never ensure that we don't make the same,
Yes.
to do those same things again.
Let's learn from that painful part of our history to make sure we don't repeat it, but not by not covering it up. Let's have an open and honest conversation about it. It happened.
And the effects of it.
Yes.
And the present day effects of it.
I think we both agree. I think we can all agree on this, that there is a problem with, I don't know how the correct term, I think it's undocumented. How do we get a hold on that, Madam VP? How do we make sure, because I think I've heard you say you want a path to citizenship, but we want to, make sure people come in and do things properly.
Yes, that's exactly right. So first of all, I have personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have prosecuted the Sinaloa cartel, okay, the Guadalajara cartel. So I put my record up to anybody in terms of how strongly I feel about having a secure border and making sure that there is not that kind of trafficking into America. I also know that we need to put more resources at the border, which is why I supported a bill that came about, including from the most conservative members of Congress, to put 1,500 more border agents at the border, to do what we need to do to cut down the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is killing people of every race and background. More resources would have gone to prosecuting human trafficking. Donald Trump got word of that bill. And he knew it would be a solution to a problem, which is that we have a broken immigration system. He got word of the bill, and he told his friends in Congress, don't put it up for a vote. Don't let it go any further. Because, you see, he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And is putting out...
I'm not going to lie. I don't mean to pause it right here, right? But what's any different between her saying that Donald Trump said this, that, and the other, and Jaguar Wright saying whatever she said about Jay-Z and Beyonce and them? Is Shannon Sharp getting ready to get a gag order from Donald Trump? Like, hey, she's slandering my name. I did not say that to nobody. You know what I'm saying?
I guess we'll find out. I mean, shit.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm just saying, it's the same realm. Congress is pretty big people, right? I'm
tens of millions of dollars of campaign commercials full-time, trying to suggest that he cares about strengthening the border when he had an opportunity to participate in a solution, which he killed, because he's not about problem solving. It's about a political game for him. My point is, we got to strengthen the border, and we need to have an immigration system that is fair and humane and strong in terms of making sure that people have to earn citizenship, they have to work hard to get it. My plan includes also strengthening what we need to do in terms of illegal entry and between ports of entry. What we need to do to put more support for Border Patrol agents, put more technology at the border. But it includes also, I'm never going to talk about people from Haiti eating their pets. And I think that we also know we don't want an immigration system that's about separating children from their parents. We can do it in a humane way, but the bottom line is we can fix these problems. The solutions are at hand. He stands in the way, and in particular on this issue.
If you were to become president, would you ask Congress to reinstitute that bill and try to get it through?
Absolutely. And also I would work across the aisle with Republicans. There are a lot of Republicans supporting me in this campaign. And I would work with Republicans to bring this bill back up so I can sign it into law. And I do want to talk about that for a moment. This is not 2016 or 2020 in terms of how people are thinking about Donald Trump. He was president, and the people who worked the most closely with him, Republicans at the highest level, his former chief of staff, his former defense secretaries, his former national security advisor, and his former vice president, have collectively said he is dangerous and unfit to be president of the United States. And Shannon, you can just watch his rallies. I mean, did you see that 39 minutes of him swaying back and forth to YMCA? No, the man, you have to watch, and I encourage everybody who's watching this, watch what he's doing at these rallies. He is increasingly unstable and unfit to be president, according to the people who knew him best. All Republicans, by the way, who I just referred to.
Right.
Who know he is unfit to be commander-in-chief. He who will talk about service members. A lot of your listeners and the people who are a fan of your show have served or do serve in the United States military. He talks about military service members as being uncourageous, as being cowards, suckers, and losers. This is how the man talks. And so let's not get distracted by who he was on The Apprentice. Let's not get distracted by whatever, building in whatever city in Vegas or wherever has his name on it. Let's look at the job of President of the United States. And is he fit to do that job? And by the people who know him best, including most recently, a 4-star Marine general, his former chief of staff, they all say, those who know him best, he is unfit and dangerous.
The previous administration, your administration that you were in, they got kudos for the student loan relief.
Yeah.
What's the contingency plan? Because I see it's still trying to go through and some of the courts have shot it down. Do you have a contingency plan to continue the student relief?
I'm going to keep fighting for it. And yes, because first of all, what I know is that too many people have been weighed down by their student loan debt.
Yes.
To the point they question whether they can have a family, whether they can retire at some point, whether they can buy a home. So that's why I pushed for what we did around student loan debt. And thankfully, for example, we have billions of dollars in student loan debt relief that have gone, for example, to public servants like teachers and nurses and firefighters. But there's more we need to do. But, if I go into various communities like here in Atlanta and ask people how many people got their student debt relieved, the number of hands that go up and the life-changing experience people have had reminds me of the importance of this fight, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Have you let people know that President Trump, if he were to get back into office, he wants to offer police complete immunity? That they can do no wrong, no matter how egregious the act may be, they have complete immunity. Do people understand what that means? Do they really understand what that means, Madam VP?
I hope so, and I encourage people to go online to see how he says it. I encourage people to go online to see how he talks about a day of violence. Did you ever see the movies? Right. Understand. Again, don't take my word for it.
Take his.
Yeah, take his. And see where he stands on these issues.
I want to get you out of here on this one, Madam VP. You, like myself, attended and graduated from a historically black institution.
Proudly.
And it just goes to show you, if you look at myself, Stephen A., Michael Strahan, 3 of the most prominent voices in morning television, attended and graduated from an HBC. Yourself ascended to the highest of highs, graduated from an HBCU. Mm-hmm. What message would you like to share with students at all these historically black universities and colleges? What message would you like to share with them?
Oh, know your excellence. And know we are so proud of you. And we want you to have ambition. We applaud your ambition. We want you to know you can do and be anything, and don't ever hear no. And that no, you stand on broad shoulders, right? Because part of what we know is we have a legacy.
Yeah, we do.
And we stand then in that path, knowing that we also have the honor and the duty of excelling in every way possible, being able to see what is possible and not be burdened by other people's limited ability to see the same.
One more thing, I think something that's very, very near and dear to your heart is Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
I think 50 plus years, I think 72, 73, when it was Roe v. Wade said, hey, women have the right to their bodies, and all of a sudden the Supreme Court struck it down and says, no, you don't, we have control over that. What would that mean to you? So how do you get that? How do you go back and fight to make sure women still have control of their bodies?
So I'm so glad you brought it up. Shannon, first of all, think about one of the most basic rights that you could imagine is the right for you to be able to make decisions about your own body.
Correct.
Your own body.
Your reproductive rights.
And the court just took that right away from women to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do. And I think an important emphasis for me is you don't have to give up your faith or deeply held beliefs on this subject to agree the government shouldn't be telling her what to do. If she chooses, she'll talk with her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government telling her. And we need to fight against this. We need to understand how many women are suffering miscarriage and being denied help because the doctors are afraid they may end up in jail. In Texas, do you know they provide prison for life for doctors or nurses who provide reproductive care? Prison for life, Shannon. In the state of Georgia, a beautiful young woman, a mother of a 6-year-old son, died because of these Trump abortion bans. The majority of black women and the men who love them live in the South.
Yes.
Do you know in every state in the South except for Virginia, there is a Trump abortion ban?
Yes, I do. Hopefully everybody else knows that also.
Right. And so we all have to stand, regardless of your gender, regardless of your race, your background. We have to stand and say, look, this is just simply not right, and we cannot stand for the notion that Donald Trump could be president of the United States, he who chose a Supreme Court that would take this right from the women of America and the men who love them. And now we have women suffering to such an extent as they are. I think it's one of the most fundamental rights that's at play.
One more thing before you go, Madam VP.
Yes.
Who's the real HU?
Oh, come on.
I'm just asking. I didn't want to know. I don't know. I didn't go to either one, so I just wanted to hear you.
You know.
Madam VP Kamala Harris.
Thank you all. Thanks, Darren.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice.
Well.
That was one.
I'm very, 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 very much,
Hustle.
I don't know. Perplexed. I'm perplexed. That was, it was interesting. It was interesting. I honestly, I need to get my, my political information game up because I don't know what the hell people are talking about. So information is definitely key. I can't really take a side on this one. I don't know. You got anything?
No, that went about what I think political interviews usually go like. Especially this day and age. It was funny, which I don't think should have been what I got out of it.
The comments definitely
They're funny.
definitely are hilarious. I mean, even without being biased, the comments are hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Oh Lord. Man. I'm just rolling through some of the comments so y'all can see the comments on the screen and stuff.
Hey, yo, some of them are mean, bro. It's like a live stream.
Well, I don't
chat.
even know if they can see them. Honestly, I think that the thing is on to block everything out. Honestly, but
Yo said, "Ain't no way the dude who was running cheeks on live."
Hey, yo.
Oh my god.
Yeah, nah, I'm not gonna lie. It was not. I how do I say this? I expect on a Shannon Sharp Club Shay Shay interview, you're supposed to say profound things that have not been said before. You know what I mean? This is your opportunity to go the absolute opposite way of whatever nonsense people were saying.
Somebody on here said, my great grandfather in 1920 couldn't afford to buy his house, and it's Donald Trump's fault.
These dudes. 30 minutes and they haven't talked about a single thing to do with politics. Pretty much like Joe Rogan interview with Trump, and they talking about they said, they is crazy. I mean,
He says, what's your favorite color? Kamala. Well, let's talk about Trump's plan to abolish the rainbow.
Yeah, the comments are definitely different.
Dude, straight comedy.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to say. These comments just renewed my faith in humanity. Shannon, what time do you wake up, Kamala? In the morning?
Yo. Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of jokes and then people thanking him for leaving the comments on, which I'm one of them now. I appreciate you, man.
No, the comment section is something that'll make you smile. I mean, that is funny. Yo, I don't know. Yeah. Go look at the comments. I'm definitely not fitting to go through all them jumps right now.
Somebody said her homegirl wasn't passing out votes in North Carolina. She was knocking on doors because her town got ruined by a hurricane and she did nothing.
Hey, yo. This shit is crazy out here.
Yo, now they're kind of turning this shit in the comment section into like a war between Shannon Sharpe and Joe Rogan. They said that the first hour, I've seen a couple of them, was Joe Rogan podcast with Donaldson at 1 million views. And then they said Kamala's sitting at 70. I thought it was over 70 now. When we clicked on it, I thought it was well over 70. They're also talking about two different platforms.
Yeah, for
Joe Rogan has I've seen Joe Rogan episodes where he talks about I know there's people that live on other planets. But
yeah, Shannon Sharpe is just now getting to even like this. Cat Williams set off this whole new wave of things.
Was that his podcast break?
I mean, he was doing some things. I'm not gonna take nothing from him, but yes, most definitely that shit changed the world of Club Shay Shay. Hands down. He probably sent Cat like a whip or something, a watch, something. You know what I mean? Show him some love or something like that, just on the strength. Yeah, I don't think we see Kamala Harris on Club Shay Shay without that interview going off the way it did, honestly. But I don't know, man. The politics and all that stuff, it's not really my thing when I watch like to get information that I hold to the core of how I do my voting and stuff from interviews and stuff on YouTube and everything. So I guess that's the one thing I'm gonna say about this stuff is remember that to a point, for me personally, I feel like everything that I see on a TV screen is pretty much just that. It's for entertainment. And go and do your research and check into everything that everybody be telling you and stuff. When somebody tells me to go Google something, I'm sorry, but Google don't have all of the answers that you want. Not in the way that you want them. It don't just work like that. But I digress. All right. This was an episode of BTB Reacts. You got anything to add on top of that before we get up out of here?
Nah, man, I think that about wraps it up.
All right, well, look, y'all, go ahead, get y'all some of them these hoodies and stuff. You know, I'm talking about from the BTB store at thebtbrevolution.com, and you can use our discount codes that are in the description for a 10% discount. Thank you